Hello, I'm Gaylena Merritt, Senior Assistant Director for Fellowships and Scholarships here at Davidson. Welcome to the fourth and final part in this video series about writing personal statements. In part one of this series, we reviewed the purpose of personal statements. In part two, we discussed a few characteristics of strong statements. Then I shared a few tips for getting started in part three, and finally in this video, we'll go over the writing process. At the end of part three, we talked about the importance of just starting to write. The writing process includes brainstorming, outlining, drafting, and revising and editing. As you see here, the writing process is not linear. When you get to the revising and editing stage, you will likely find that you need to do some more brainstorming and outlining, and that's okay. What's important is that you continue to make progress towards finalizing your statement. To get started, make sure you've downloaded the handout attached to the Personal Statements resource and Handshake. On the screen now is the first page of that handout, which is for brainstorming. You don't have to fill in something for each space, but use the handout to help you think about your most formative experiences and influences and what sets you apart from others. The first row is for skills, knowledge, and characteristics that help you overcome obstacles, and I want to spend some time there. When writing about obstacles you've overcome, it's important to focus on asset-based language instead of deficit-based language to maintain a focus on how you face challenges rather than focusing on the challenge itself. Also, avoid deficit-based language when writing about your identity and background. Who you are is an asset, and you can authentically address personal challenges and systemic inequalities that you faced while also focusing on yourself and your strengths. It's important for you to use your best judgment to determine to what extent, if at all, to discuss personal trauma and hardships. If you choose to incorporate painful experiences, remember that they should be relevant to your narrative and to the program for which you're applying. The second page of that handout is for outlining. This is where you will identify your thesis, or the overall theme or image of yourself you want to make sure your application conveys, and all the ways your personal statement will reinforce that image. Remember from our discussion of organization in part two of this series that you don't have to organize your statement chronologically. You also don't have to go with the traditional 5-paragraph model for structuring your personal statement. But please don't be afraid to use those approaches if they will help you construct the most compelling statement. If you can develop a cohesive, compelling argument using a more creative structure, please try it. But just make sure it's effective, or it will weaken your essay and you'll lose your audience. The third stage of the writing process is drafting. You will likely go through many drafts of your essay, and that's okay. Use the drafting phase to connect your ideas from brainstorming and outlining into a cohesive narrative that has a clear direction. If you're having trouble getting your ideas on paper, sometimes talking it out can be helpful. Consider asking someone if they'll have a conversation with you about it, or even consider using a dictation tool like the one in Microsoft Word to talk through an idea by yourself. You might feel silly at first, but it's a great way to work through ideas when you're stuck. When you have a complete narrative, you're ready for revising and editing, which is one of the most important phases of the writing process. While you should work on revising and editing your own statement, this is a great time to get help from others as well. Use the checklist like the one from the UNC Chapel Hill Writing Center as you review your draft for potential revisions. You can find a link to that checklist in the Personal Statement resource and Handshake. Remember that writing your personal statement is a process, and it will require a number of drafts and a lot of help from others. If someone offers more critical feedback than you expected during revising and editing, please don't get discouraged. All good writers participate in rigorous drafting and revision processes, and all strong personal statements are the result of a lot of hard work. You'll get to the point when you're ready to finalize and submit your statement. Just have patience and remember to trust the process. In addition to these key takeaways, don't forget that while writing a personal statement can be challenging, it can also be incredibly formative. Many fellowship candidates tell me that writing their personal statements was the first time they had the opportunity to take pause and think about what was important to them in a focused, organized way. Approach writing your personal statement as a learning experience, and you will likely find it to be rewarding in unexpected ways. Thanks so much for following along in this personal statement writing series. Please feel free to rewatch any of these videos, and don't forget to review the other resources in Handshake. Best of luck as you write your own personal statement.